Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is July 18th, 2025, and Barcelona have officially confirmed the Camp Nou delays. Also, Barcelona are closely tracking Riquelme Felipe out of Brazil. And finally, Barcelona are plotting a move for Rayan Barghji's brother, Rayan Barghji. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and this is the Barca News live podcast. Where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and get a discussion going live. Of course, podcasts are every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And for those of you who'll be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. It's free, it takes a second, and it helps the channel grow. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, including the new home kit or Lamine Yamal's new number 10 kit, you can head to Goal Kids, Kit Bag, or Fanatics. And if you want to place sports bet, not just on Barcelona matches, but on any sporting event around the world, make sure you head to Bet Us. All links are in the description. You click on them, you get access to discounts, offers, and deals courtesy of Barca News, and it's, of course, completely free to you if you click on the link. Now, having said all that, let's start with the news because we have a lot to cover, a lot of news to cover, so stay until the end. But the first segment of news is, of course, comprised of multiple segments of news or little bits of news for brevity's sake, starting with an update on Barcelona's newest sponsorship deal. As I've mentioned now, I think twice, so this is the third time, Barcelona are currently finalizing a sponsorship deal with the Democratic Republic of Congo in order to promote tourism to the DRC. And now we have a little more details. It was initially thought that the deal would be for 10 million euros a season for 3 years, and that the sentence RDC, the Heart of Africa, would appear on Barcelona's kit. But now we have more information. And while the information is that is not going to appear on Barcelona's kit, instead it's going to appear on the training kit. So the slogan RDC, the Heart of Africa, will appear on the back of the training kit. And of course, there will be signs around the Barcelona facilities with the slogan RDC, the Heart of Africa. It's also going to appear in Barcelona's magazine, which, by the way, today was the first time I found out there's a magazine. But anyway, that, of course, the advertisement will appear in Barcelona's magazine. It's also going to appear on the newsletter that Barcelona sends to its socios or to anyone who signs up for it. Now, that's not just the only update. It's not only that the slogan will appear on the training kit, not on the official kit, but also, it seems that it's actually a little bit more than we initially thought. It's not going to be 10 million euros per season. It's going to be 11.5 million euros per season, and it's going to be for 4 seasons. So that's 46 million euros. 46 million euros total, 4 years, 11.5 per season for the slogan RDC, the Heart of Africa, to appear on the back of the training kit, on signs, on the magazine, and of course on the newsletter. So good news again, because any new sponsorship means more revenue for the club. More revenue for the club, of course, will only help Barcelona try to get this out of this financial hole that we're in, plus achieve the 1-to-1, register players, sign players, etc., etc., etc. Now, on to the next bit of news, and it's in regards to Mark ter Stegen, because as I reported in yesterday's video, it seems that the reason why Mark ter Stegen was training on his own was not an excuse, was not just, a cover story regarding ter Stegen. It looks like he is suffering from back discomfort. That's why he hasn't been training with the group. He's been training in the gym by himself. And as I told you in yesterday's video, right now there's consideration on whether ter Stegen might have to undergo back surgery. And if that happens, ter Stegen will be out for 4 months. Now, no decision has been made as far as the surgery. Ter Stegen is set to meet with the club's doctors, and also a spinal specialist to weigh all the options and then make a decision, an informed decision on whether to undergo surgery or not. But the news is, of course, that if Ter Stegen does undergo surgery and if he does end up being out for 4 months, Barcelona could receive some money from UEFA in the form of 2 million euros. Because as you know, there's a rule that when a player gets injured while with their national team or ends up missing club football, then UEFA or FIFA compensate the club. So if this happens, they're saying it's an injury, or sorry, surgery, and ends up being out for 4 months, UEFA could compensate Barcelona with 2 million euros. Plus, of course, as I told you in yesterday's video, Barcelona could use 80% of his salary to register another player. For example, Joan Garcia, kind of like what happened last season where Christensen got injured and Barcelona used 80% of his salary to register Dani Olmo and Pau Victor. So in the short term, obviously it is beneficial, 2 million euros, plus being able to register Joan Garcia and Rayan Barghji. That's not bad, but in the long term, it's not good at all because, of course, that's only a short-term solution that would only register Joan Garcia until by December 31st, just like Dani Olmo and Pau Victor, plus 2 million euros is not really that much compared to how much Ter Stegen is earning. So obviously the better long-term solution would be for Ter Stegen to find another club. But with the surgery, of course, that's going to complicate things. So there is a silver lining, but that silver lining is only short term. So let's hope that Ter Stegen doesn't need that back surgery and that he does eventually find a new destination, because him leaving would free up a lot of space on the wage bill, which would go a long, long way to help Barcelona with the registration. Much better than, just being able to use 80% of his salary for 4 months, right? That's not ideal. It is a silver lining if it happens, but it's not ideal. And again, Ter Stegen has not made a decision yet. It's going to be a meeting with the club, doctors, and spinal specialists. We'll see what comes out of that meeting. And of course, I'll be here to tell you all about it. So stay tuned to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell button so you get notified whenever there's a new video. Now, speaking of goalkeepers, there is more news. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have decided who will be the third goalkeeper that will be traveling to the Asia preseason tour, and it's going to be no other than Diego Cochen. Now, as you know, Joan Garcia will be number one, Wojciech Szczesny number two, so of course the two of them will be traveling to the Asia preseason tour to Korea, South Korea and Japan. But the question was, is Ter Stegen going to go? Who's going to be the third one? Well, it seems that Barcelona have made a decision that's going to be Diego Cochen, and it's reported that the club are already working on the paperwork for Diego Cochen to be able to travel with the first team to the preseason tour in South Korea and Japan, because, of course, as I've told you a million times, Barcelona's long-term bet is on Diego Cochen. They see him as kind of like the person or the heir to that first goalkeeper position on the first team, with, of course, Astralaga now being in Granada in second division. Jakobishvili, who's leaving to FC Andorra. Barcelona will be keeping track on the two of them and how they develop. But right now, all bets are on Diego Cochen, who will be traveling with the first team on the preseason tour. Now, the final bit of news is regarding the Royal Spanish Football Federation, because as I reported several weeks ago, the president, Pedro Luzan, decided to fire everybody on the CTA, which is the Committee of Referees, in order to restructure it. He hired a new CEO. And well, it's reported that this upcoming Monday, they're going to announce the new president of the CTA, the new technical director, and the new director of the VAR. So we're going to be, of course, monitoring the situation here in Barca News to see who will be the new chosen people to lead the CTA. This is, of course, as part of the Royal Spanish Football Federation's attempt to kind of restructure and completely revamp Spanish refereeing, which, as we've seen, it's an absolute joke. Now, Real Madrid TV are already working hard, working overtime. They're analyzing who are all the candidates for these positions, and they're already releasing videos about each candidate because, of course, they want to put pressure on them too, just like they have been putting pressure on referees for the last 2-3 seasons. Because, of course, Real Madrid, they claim to be the victims, but yet they're the ones who are always doing things behind the scenes and even out in open to try to get an unfair advantage. All right, let's start with the comment section, and then we are going to talk about the Camp Nou, because there's more bad news about the Camp Nou. McCoy says, Mo, what do you think Barca should do about the left-wing position? Buy a player, loan a player, or rely on La Masia for backup? I think we should take the preseason, or at least part of the preseason, because obviously by the time the preseason's over, the season's up. I think we should really focus on part of the preseason to see, and this, of course, will be all up to Flick, to see whether or reassess the situation, whether we need a left winger or not, right? Because we know that Flick has requested a left winger. He thinks that position needs to be reinforced. We have no specialist on that position. We had Ansu technically, but, Ansu's Ansu. And plus, he's gone. So I think maybe this is a good time for Flick to test out what he has in the academy and the reserve team, test it out during the trainings, maybe during the first half of the preseason tour, because if you wait until the end, it might be too late. And maybe see, and maybe Flick could think, hey, after all, maybe we don't need a left winger. Maybe Daniel Rodriguez can fill that, can help with that position. Maybe Rayan Barghji can help with that position, right? So I think maybe the preseason could be a good time for the team to reassess. But for now, the plan, of course, is to sign the left winger. But if we see that someone in the academy can do that job, and there's not really quality out there, quality names that we can sign, then why not stay with the academy, right? Not a bad alternative. I mean, after all, even if we think that whoever is in the academy could fill that position, but maybe they're not ready to be a starter, obviously Coutinho can stay in there. He did a great job last season, and then have a substitute from the academy like Virgili or whomever, right? So I think if it was up to me, I would definitely test out what I have during the preseason and see. And maybe, and who knows, maybe we test it out and say, okay, these guys are not ready yet. Maybe we should sign someone. But I think it's a good, the preseason is a good opportunity to kind of like reassess the situation. Super Ice says, hello, Mo. I don't understand why people saying Deco out because he wants Luis Diaz, but we don't have the money to do that. Because his insistence on it, right? I mean, okay, you think Luis Diaz is the best option? Great. Can we afford him? No. So let's move on, right? Why are we still focusing on this? We've been talking about Luis Diaz since the end of May. It's already July. It's been almost 2 months, and Deco's still insisting. And it's like, all right, fine. If you think that's the best option, great. I think it's a good option too. I don't know if it's the best, but I think if Luis Diaz comes to Barcelona, I think he would do a great job. It's not like we're signing a bum, but it's just not possible because we cannot afford what Liverpool want. And even if we could, we shouldn't, right? 85 million euros or 100 million euros for Luis Diaz is too much, right? It's like someone charging you $100,000 for a Toyota Corolla. Not that Luis Diaz is a Toyota Corolla, but you get what I mean. They're overpricing him. And that's the problem. I think that's what pisses people off. Like, it's not that Luis Diaz, that he's considering Luis Diaz, is the fact that we know that we can't sign him. So why are we still talking about him? Why are we still making calls and trying to meet with his agent? Like, dude, move on. And that's a big problem, right? If we all know Haaland will be the greatest center forward for our team, but guess what? We can't afford him. So should we waste time on like constant? No. In fact, we've already moved on a long time ago. We moved on 2 summers ago because we knew this is just not possible. So let's move on. And that's the problem. Plus, that's not the only issue with Deco. It's not just Luis Diaz. He's inexperienced, and his inexperience shows. And a sporting director of one of the biggest clubs in the world, especially a club that's going through financial problems, meaning that you even need more experience to be able to run it, because not only are you dealing with the difficulties of managing the sporting department of one of the biggest clubs, but now you have the added difficulty of financial fair play problems, money problems. So you need even someone more savvy and more experienced. And instead, we bring someone who has zero experience in being a sporting director. That to me does not make sense. If you're Apple, you don't hire a CEO who has zero experience in being CEO. It just doesn't happen. This in the corporate world would never happen. But it happens at Barcelona because Joan Laporta insists on hiring his friends. And that's not how you run one of the biggest clubs in the world. Uncle Joe says, hey, Mo, do you think Rayan Barghji would be able to step up for our left wing if we are unable to sign a left winger, or do you think it's too early? Well, that's what the preseason is for, right? We'll see how he does in the preseason because he's been shining in the lower categories. But one thing is to shine in the lower categories. Another thing is to shine in the first team. So I think this is why the preseason is important. Try him out, see what he does, and then Flick will know. Either this guy's ready, let's do it, or maybe this guy still needs a little more time. We'll have to wait. Pedri says, hi, Mo, with Bayern getting their 67 million bid rejected and Deco still wanted to pursue Diaz, Do you think he will offer 70 million for him? Um, no, because we don't have it, right? I mean, I think if we did, Deco would probably would. I'm sure Deco would be like, fuck it, let's just spend it. But the fact that we don't have that money tells me that most likely not. And again, not because he wouldn't want to, is because he can't. Vito says, hi Mo, do you think Barca should consider going for a striker because Lewa is Asian and we don't really have a Lewa replacement, La Masia, and if so, who would you want? So that's the plan for next summer. This summer, there's no plan to sign a center forward because, of course, we do have Lewandowski and we don't have money to be signing another center forward, so might as well keep Lewandowski until the end of his contract, which expires next summer, and then next summer, Barcelona will try to sign a new center forward. Right now, no plans to do that. And Raul says, Mo, at this point, the board is just filling articles to keep the fans busy of thinking we'll sign someone when in reality they won't sign anyone. They've mastered the art of keeping themselves busy. I mean, there has been a lot of smoke screens with this board, so you're not completely wrong. But anyways, let's get back to the news because speaking of this board today, Barcelona announced what I already told you a few days ago is that there will be no return to the Spotify Camp Nou on August 10th for the Joan Gamper Trophy, something that Barcelona had actually officially announced. They had officially announced it. They had published an official statement on the websites, on social media, made posts, pictures. There was even a video with John Laporta in it. And they made the official announcement that Barcelona would return home on, and when I say home, of course, I mean the Spotify Camp Nou on the 10th of August, 2025 for that Joan Gamper Trophy against Cesc Fabregas' Como, the Serie A team. Now, I told you, I think it was a couple of days ago, that this had been ruled out because, of course, Barcelona have failed to obtain the permit that they need in order to return to the stadium, which is the occupancy permit, because the city went to the stadium and said, guys, this is not ready. I'm not going to give you a permit if this is not ready. The two rings have to be ready. The basement work that Barcelona were doing was supposed to be ready as well. The entrance and exit roads to access the stadium from the street, not ready either. So the city's like, I cannot give you a permit if this stadium is not ready to host people. So, of course, as such, because the city of Barcelona have rejected the permit application of Barcelona, this was ruled out. And well, today, this was officially announced by Barcelona. This is no longer speculation or rumors or leaked news. Barcelona have officially announced this on their website and on their social media outlets that the Joan Gamper Trophy match will not be hosted at the Spotify Camp Nou because the stadium is not going to be ready on time. Now, the decision has also been made regarding where the Joan Gamper Trophy match will be played, and it's going to be at the Johan Cruyff Stadium, which, by the way, has a capacity of 6,000 people. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been to the Johan Cruyff Stadium. I watched the Barcelona Femení there. I also watched Barca Athletic there. Beautiful stadium. It has a capacity of 6,000 people. We went from, we can host 50,000 at Montjuic to, we're going to have 60,000 at Camp Nou for the Joan Gamper to now to 6,000 people. And, of course, Barcelona are going to have to evaluate what to do with the tickets because there's going to be a lot more than 6,000 people who are going to want to watch this match. So Barcelona are going to have to analyze how to sell the tickets, who to sell, who's going to get priority, etc., etc. And of course, not to mention the huge loss of money because to go from 60,000 to 6,000, I mean, that's going to be absolutely insane. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is of course yet another sign of this board's improvisation. Well, there's absolutely no plan whatsoever. They're just winging it. They're just going day by day, and we'll figure it out. We'll say one thing, and if it doesn't pan out, we'll say another thing. And if that doesn't pan out, we'll say another thing. And we'll just keep lying and lying and lying, and we'll just keep winging it and winging it and winging it, just like they did with Xavi, because it was only announced like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago that we were going to return to the Camp Nou, and all of a sudden, wait, never mind, sorry, we're not. Kind of like with the whole Xavi situation. He's not fired, he's staying, pictures hugging, and then 2 weeks later, Laporta goes ahead and fires him, which is, again, a sign of improvisation because this board has no plan whatsoever in place, no backup plans, because if you don't have a plan, how are you going to have a backup plan? They're just winging it, shooting from the hip, going day by day. We'll fucking figure it out. And whatever. We'll just keep telling the people whatever they want to hear. Why? Because they let us. Because I'm sure they're going to find an excuse for us. And that's exactly what's happening, by the way. I'm already seeing people coming up with all kinds of excuses. They're like, oh, no, no. We weren't lied to. This is a strategic move by John Laporta to get the VIP seats approved. That's the latest one, by the way, and the one that's spreading most on social media. It's a strategic move by Laporta to announce that we're going to the Camp Nou, only for later to withdraw that announcement. Now, what's the hypothesis behind this, or the bullshit, I should say, behind this? You know that Barcelona sold rights to VIP seats at Spotify Camp Nou at the end of December. Another sign of just this board winging it, because they never had a plan in place to register Dani Olmo and Pau Victor. So, of course, last minute, they had to go and sell rights to the seats to be able to register them. Now, the auditor that Barcelona hired, Crow, said you cannot count those 100 million euros as profit or revenue because the seats are not built. So now people are saying, oh, this is a strategic move. Laporta announces we're going back to the Camp Nou. So the auditor says, okay, we're good to go. They issue their report that the 100 million euros can be counted. And voila, we return to the 1-to-1 rule, and then you withdraw the announcement. It's like, how stupid do you think we are that we're going to buy this bullshit excuse? Because if that's the case, why would you announce that we're not going to play at the Camp Nou before the report is ready? Wouldn't it make more sense to announce we're going to the Camp Nou, the auditor issues its report, and then you say, psych, we're actually not going back? And by the way, they could always still make a new report and say, okay, well, they're not going back, so never mind. Also, how stupid do you think the auditor is? Do you think auditors just take your word for it? Hey, is the stadium ready? Well, Twitter says it is. Cool, we're good. Issue that report. No, they gotta want to see proof. Hey, show me a certificate of construction that those seats are done. Show me the permit that the city issued you, which tells me you can host people. They're gonna want to see proof. Do you think if you go to a bank and say, hey, I want to apply for a loan. Okay, how much money do you make? $1 million. Okay. Do you think they're just going to take your word for it? No, they're going to want to see, hey, let's show me bank statements, show me pay stubs, show me tax returns. No. But I put it on Twitter that I make $1 million. Oh, okay, cool. We believe you. Loan approved. How stupid do you think these auditors are that they're not going to want to prove that they're just going to go buy what Laporta posted on Twitter? Are you guys that fucking stupid? Or do you think we're that stupid to buy that bullshit? So, of course, this board is going to continue to lie to us, because why? There's always going to be people that not only accept to be lied to, but they even justify it and applaud it. Wow, strategic move. Yeah, very strategic. Because, by the way, now there's reports saying Barcelona are even weighing in going back to the Olympic Stadium, because not only the Camp Nou is not going to be ready for the Joan Gamper Trophy, it might not even be ready for the whole first half of the season. And now they're weighing the option of being able to go back to Montjuic. And this is a fucking problem. But people will still justify, by the way. Just the other time when I announced this, they were like, oh, well, it's not Laporta's fault that the stadium is ready. No, but it is his fault that he keeps fucking lying to us. And that's the problem. And if you're okay with someone lying to you time and time again, my friend, you need help. Talk to someone, because that's not okay. But anyways, Victor Font came out and has actually made statements about this. And this is what Victor Font has said, which is funny, by the way. When I was reading, I was like, oh my God, that's pretty much what I was thinking in my mind I was going to say during the live. But this is what Victor Font had to say. Incredible that, being the best club in the world, we are making a fool of ourselves with constant unfulfilled promises. We already knew that the Camp Nou is a major project, which is why it was very surprising to see an advertising campaign celebrating that we would return to on August 10th, despite no expert in the field considering it feasible. And I talked about this last podcast. I told you there are plenty of architects, construction experts. They're saying there's no fucking way. So what is going on? There's no need to toy with the expectations of Barcelona fans in this way. The mildest way to assess it is that we are facing yet another case of improvisation, wishful thinking, and management incapacity. 100% agree. But the line between this and deception is very thin. We will demand transparency as many times as necessary. Why have so many impossible deadlines been given? Who takes responsibility for this? Why was the contract awarded to a company that was supposed to be cheaper and faster when it's proven to be neither? And where will we play our league and Champions League matches starting from September 14th, when we're supposed to return to playing official matches at the Camp no. So Victor Fon posted this on his social media account, on his Twitter account. And I know a lot of people are going to say, he's just a politician taking advantage of the situation. And true, yeah, he is. He is taking advantage of the situation to kind of like, boost his ratings and damage Laporta. But at the end of the day, whatever reason he's doing it for, what he's saying is 100% true. It doesn't matter what the reason is, because at the end of the day, what he's saying is 100% true. Why is this board insisting on making FC Barcelona look like a fool? Because when you tell us we're going back in November, then December, then February, then April, then May, then you make an official announcement that it's August, and now you're telling us, no, it's going to be September, and there's even talks that September is not going to happen. Why do we let this board to continue to make Barcelona look stupid? Because this is what this board is doing. In no other corporate setting would this ever be allowed to happen. Ever. If Apple announced that the iPhone is going to be out in November, and then they change it to December, then February, then April, then May, then August, then September, heads would roll. But with this board, they get away with it. And why? Because we let them get away with it. Because I'm pretty sure there's going to be plenty of people in the comment section just making up excuse after excuse after excuse. And my question to you is, why do you enjoy being lied to? Why? Anyways, let's get back to the chat section. And then we are going to talk about a player out of Brazil that Barcelona are tracking. And we do have a donation, as always, a very, very generous donation from Shin, who says, happy Friday, my brother, from another mother. Any updates on Libero and Chera they owe us for Barca Vision? Also, why does the club and Laporta constantly get our hopes up for stuff just to annoyingly always disappoint us? Well, thank you, my friend, for your comment and your donation. No updates on the Barca Vision yet. It could be just another lie from Laporta at this point. I don't believe anything that comes out of this board's mouth. But why? Because, it's a play to populism. Hey, I tell people what they want to hear. They get happy. They go about their lives and they vote me back in. It's the same reason why any politician lies to us, right? It's because at the end of the day, these positions are elected. In order to be elected, you need the people's approval. And well, what a better way to get the people's approval than to lie about what you're doing. And of course, unfortunately, we live in a world where people just eat it with a spoon. They just like to be fed lies. I don't know why. Is it because maybe the lies are a lot more comfortable than the truth? Maybe. I don't know. But I mean, that's the only reason I can think why this board keeps doing that. Or maybe they're just that incompetent and they just cannot figure out right from left. Because how you going from in 2 weeks, in a span of 2 weeks, oh, the stadium's going to be ready, to no, it's not going to be ready. In 2 weeks. Not a lot of things can go wrong in 2 weeks to go from we're going to do full capacity at 60,000 to none. If you were telling me at 6 months, oh, we're going to be in 6 months, and 6 months, a lot of shit can happen. And you go, oh, okay, fine. But in 2 weeks, you're telling me that 2 weeks ago, you did not know that this stadium was not going to be ready? I mean, what the hell happened in those 2 weeks? And how is it that every expert that's come out on all the talk shows, architects, construction experts, all saying this is not going to be ready? How is it that all those people knew that the stadium wasn't going to be ready, but you did it? I mean, again, it doesn't take an expert. I'm not an architect. I'm not an expert in construction. I've never worked construction. But you look at the pictures and you're like, how the hell is this going to host 60,000 people in a matter of a few weeks? Impossible. There's not even access to the stadium. But everybody knew it except this board. So it tells me either they're straight up lying, which makes them liars, or two, they're fucking incompetent and they have no idea what they're doing. Either way is not a good look. And it's starting to get pretty tiring because this is lie after a lie after a lie after a lie. And at some point, you have to say enough. But people are not going to do it because, as we've seen, people just love to be lied to. And they put in more work in coming up with bullshit excuses than in accepting the fact that you're just being lied to. They're pissing in your face, and instead of saying, hey, stop pissing on me, you're opening your mouth and saying, right here, you missed the spot. You got me in the cheek. Give me my mouth next time. Nguenya says, hey, Mo, happy to be part of the live again. Thoughts on Barca just focusing on Rashford now for our winger. Then next summer with Lewandowski leaving, we can go for an elite striker and left winger. it's all going to depend on how we do financially speaking for next summer and where we are as far as our wage bill, where we are as our 1-to-1. Because they're already talking that we might have to go back to Montjuic. That's going to be a lot of loss of money. So it's all going to depend on how our finances are, whether we're going to have enough money next summer to make two big signings, a left winger and a striker, or whether it's just going to be striker. Because if it's the latter, where we're only going to have money to make one big signing, then that's going to be another summer where we can't sign a left winger, because next summer we have to sign a striker. Because next summer, Lewy's gone, right? So, it all depends on how this next financial year will go. Nick says, hey, Mo, it's been a while since I caught the live stream on time. I'm traveling with my son listening from the USA. Don't know if you heard, but you should visit it sometimes. Oh, where are you going? Let me know in the chat section. And thank you for watching, my friend. And Isaac says, I always said after the understanding magnitude of what Bartomeu did, I said make then that until 2025, 2026. Are you talking about the stadium, or what are we talking about? Let's see. Kostadin says, man, Ter Stegen is not planning on playing the World Cup. He got a 20-year-old girlfriend and now wants to lay on the beach and collect Barcelona money. Now, Ter Stegen wants to play the World Cup, and I don't think he would fake an injury, because he knows that if he doesn't play this season, his chances of playing the World Cup are gone. Remember, Ter Stegen has been trying to be the starter for Germany for his whole career, and now this is his chance, finally, because Neuer, the state, is gone. So this is his only chance, and, I don't think he would fake an injury, because the only way for Ter Stegen to finally get his chance at being the starter for Germany in the World Cup will be to either leave Barcelona to somewhere where he will get minutes, or two, winning back his spot on Barcelona squad. And none of those two things will happen if he fakes an injury. Yeah. Mike Valencia says, hey, hey, Mo. Do you think this is a scapegoat for Ter Stegen to stay? Also, that sleeveless training kit tank is super tough. No, like I said, this is his only chance of being a starter. I don't see him, blowing that chance away by just faking an injury and just sitting back and relaxing. Make sure Nika says, happy joining despite it's almost over from Nigeria. I have been a big lover, fan, and follower. Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for your comment and for watching. And let's see, one more. Suleiman says, I would rather a low-profile specialist on the left plus academy play, because at some point, Rafinha dropped this to avoid overusing him this season. All right, speaking of left wingers, let's move on to the next bit of news, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's reported that Barcelona are closely tracking Riquelme Felipe. Riquelme Felipe. Wow, that was terrible. Sorry, I apologize. But if you don't know who Riquelme Felipe is, who, by the way, is named after the Argentine Riquelme, who also spent time in Barcelona. But Riquelme Felipe is an 18-year-old left-footed right winger, kind of like Lamine Yamal, which, of course, means he could also play on the left wing, because he is left-footed, but he mainly plays on the right. And he currently plows his trade at Fluminense, and he's kind of like one of the most promising players currently in the Brazilian league, and he is closely being tracked by Deco and his staff. Now, Riquelme Felipe has been in Fluminense's academy since he was 10 years old, so he's come up through their academy. He was a prolific goal scorer all through the different stages and levels of the academy that he went through. But now that he's on the first team, they say he's more of a team-focused player, where he uses his vision and skills to kind of set up teammates, so more kind of like an attacking midfielder role, but still playing on the wing. And here's the kicker. He only has approximately a little over a year left on his contract. Well, no, less than a year, sorry. I forgot what year we're in, because his contract expires in March 2026. So that's only like, 7-8 months away. So this, of course, has presented itself as an opportunity for Barcelona, because not only would you be signing a promising player who's already 18, so he can come immediately, but of course, having only a few months left on his contract, that's always a huge benefit for the club trying to negotiate for him, because, of course, you can always be like, all right, well, if you don't want to sign him to us, he's going to end up leaving for free. So obviously that gives us a huge plus when it comes to negotiations. So Barcelona closely tracking Riquelme Felipe, interested in signing him. Of course, as long as he doesn't renew, and Barcelona could end up making this signing for low, or potentially maybe if he does decide to stay at Fluminense until his contract expires. Obviously, there's always the option of also signing him for free. So this would be kind of like a Rayan Barghji situation where same thing, promising winger, had very little time left on his contract, 6 months. Rayan Barghji's contract expired in December. So that, of course, presented a great opportunity for Barcelona to sign him for only 2.5 million euros. So Barcelona hoping to replicate what they did with Rooney, now with Riquelme Felipe out of Fluminense. Now, if you have seen Riquelme Felipe play, let me know what your thoughts of him in the chat section or comment section. And maybe might not be a bad idea to do a reaction video to see how Riquelme Felipe plays. All right, let's start with the chat section again. And we have Klaus, my man Klaus, says, I agree that Deco should move on. I just never understood how hiring an inexperienced sporting director would benefit us. And PMA Yoder says, new to soccer and don't know the skill sets, but I'm curious if any of the current midfielders could fill in as a backup winger so that we don't have to sign a new one. I mean, technically, yes. In fact, Fermin Lopez has done it, but that's not ideally what you want, right? Because sure, you can have a player play out of position and still do well, but that's not what where he's going to shine, right? Sure, Fermin Lopez did a good job in the left wing, but he shines in his natural position in his attacking midfield, right? So let's say if you're an attacking midfielder, and as an attacking midfielder you're a 9, and then they move you over to the wing, and you might do a 7.5 job, maybe even an 8. Sure, that's great. But still, you're not giving your best because that's not your natural position. You want that player to be playing in the position where he plays, where his score is a 9, and not have him play another position where his score is lower because it's not his natural position, right? You want players to play in the positions where they shine the most. So sure, you can do that, but I mean, ideally, you want obviously a specialist in that position. A treaty says Deco out also because he's incompetent and won't do his basic job as part of his main KPI is offloading unwanted players. He left talking with their statue for Flick as he look obviously lacks cajones. Yeah, I agree. And I said that when it was first announced that when Deco kind of like, I was like, I'm not going to talk to him. And it's like, bro, it's your job. You're the sporting director. You're the one who tells people they're hired and they're fired, right? If you want to sign someone, it's your job to go talk to them and try to convince them. Same thing. If you want to fire someone or push someone out, it's your job to tell them. But no, he left it up to Flick. Which, by the way, when I said that, all these people were like, wow, what are you talking about? It's not his job. I'm like, what? Since when it's not the sporting director's job to offload and sign players? Like I said, people will always going to find an excuse. People would rather work overtime to find an excuse rather than just accept the reality of the situation because it's uncomfortable. And it's like, my friend, you'd be a lot happier if you just deal with the reality. Plus, it's a lot less work than having to constantly come up with excuse after excuse after excuse. My God, even remember with Xabi, when I used to criticize Xabi, people used to, my God, I mean, they would like do mental gymnastics. And it's like, whoa, my friend, that sounds exhausting. And we have another donation from Zanjok. Thank you so much, my friend, for your donation. Says, I hope the members grill Laporta about the stadium in the next meeting. He needs to be investigated if we can't play Champions League Camp Nou this season. Also heard Virgili is impressing Flick in training. Yeah, so far, Flick seems to be impressed with Virgili. We'll see how he continues to do. But today, actually, Sport published a... What's it called? A survey. I don't know. I couldn't think of the word. A survey that they did of 300 club socios. And I don't know how representative the survey was because I didn't really look into the method behind it and who was chosen and how they were chosen and what was the demographic of the focus group. But they did a survey of 300 socios, and believe it or not, the scores were actually much lower than I thought. Everything hovered like around a 5.5, 6, 7 max as far as how Laporta is doing. And I say it's surprising because unfortunately we have learned through history that a lot of times the socios and the fans as well are always just guided by how the team does on the field, which of course it's a big mistake because yes, of course you want the team to do well. At the end of the day, it is a football club, but you also need to judge what's happening in the offices, not just what happens on the field. Because if the board is mismanaging the club, they're overspending money, they're making signings they shouldn't be making. Is the brand growing? Is the club capturing more TV viewership? Are they capturing more fans? How's the merchandising? All those things should count for how to evaluate how a board is doing. And unfortunately, for most of history, people have just been guided by how the team is doing. The team is doing great, awesome. The board is awesome. Oh, the team is doing shit. Oh, that means the board is shit. And it's like, no, there's more to it. And the biggest proof of that is Bartomeu, right? Bartomeu got reelected because Luis Enrique won a Trebel. And we know what Bartomeu did. He nearly bankrupted the club. But people still voted for him because Luis Enrique won a Trebel. And that's concerning, right? Because you cannot just be guided what happens on the field. If I'm the CEO of Apple and iPhone sales are through the roof, but behind closed doors, I'm using the company's money to buy yachts and exotic cars and throwing parties and spending on hookers and cocaine, I need to be fired, even if the iPhone sales are through the roof, right? I'm still stealing. So I was surprised about the low scores. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe now the socios are finally learning, hey, maybe we shouldn't just judge the board only on how the team is doing, but on how they're also doing in the offices. But maybe it's not a reflective sample. I don't know. It was only 300 socios, and they didn't really discuss how the sample was chosen, neither what was the demographics of the sample and how reflective it is of the broader pool of socios. And Greeks, the kid, says, hey, Mo, what needs to happen for us to have a vote of no confidence to get them all out of the club? So glad the election is next year. Vote of no confidence, it's a pretty complex process. Someone has to start it, and then they have to collect a certain amount of signatures from socios just to get the process started. And signatures have to be in person. And then once the process is started, there's like a voting mechanism where all the socios have to vote. I'm not a fan of votes of no confidence because I'm more of a fan of election. Hey, if they get their 5 years or 6 years, and if they don't do well, you vote them out, and if they do well, you reelect them. Versus, kicking someone out halfway through their term, it's hurtful to the club. Unless, of course, there's like some serious shit going on, like Bartomeu, where he was nearly bankrupted the club. That was necessary for the survival of the club. But if it's not something like super urgent, where he's stealing money or something like that, or committing crimes, I'm more of a believer that wait until the election's up and then vote them out. Which my fear is that if the next year, socios forget all about it because the team is gonna be doing great, and I'm like, well, we're doing great, so fuck it. Who cares about all these lies and mismanagement? But anyways, let's do the last bit of news and then we'll do more comments. But let's talk about the last bit of news, and it's concerning Rayan Barghji's younger brother, Rayan Barghji, the 15-year-old left winger who also plays for FC Copenhagen, and someone that, of course, was linked with Barcelona. I think it was last week. There were a lot of reports stating that Barcelona had signed Rayan as part of the deal to sign Rooney, and that Barcelona had signed both of them together. Of course, I came here on the channel and told that that was not true. That was a lie. Barcelona had not signed the two of them. They had only signed Rooney. However, the news is that even though Barcelona did not sign Rayan, they are still tracking him up close, and they are plotting to sign him because, in fact, in the Swedish media, they keep talking about how Rayan is actually more talented than his brother Rooney. And more importantly, just like Riquelme Felipe that we talked about a few moments ago, his contract is set to expire pretty soon. Now, Rayan will turn 16 years old in November, and they're saying his contract will be expiring somewhere around his birthday. We don't know exactly when. I try to look for it. It's not public records, probably because he's a minor. but they're saying that his contract should be expiring around his birthday, somewhere around November, which means there's only a few months left on his contract, which again could present a great opportunity for Barcelona to sign a promising player on the low, because again, that takes away from the FC Copenhagen's ability to negotiate, because, of course, if they only have a few months left, it's kind of like, okay, we got to get rid of him now and try to get whatever we can get. Otherwise, we risk him leaving for free. So this, of course, is a big plus for Barcelona, a great market opportunity where Barcelona could sign a young, promising player for very little. Now, it's reported that Barcelona, of course, would be signing him for the academy. This would not be a first-team signing because he is still young. He is only 15 years old, going to be 16. So this will be a signing for the academy, and then, of course, trying to see how he does. And then who knows? Maybe one day he could be on the first team playing alongside Rooney. Now, Rayan, again, plays on the left. Rooney plays on the right. Can you imagine the two of them, left, right? Lamine Yamal an attacking mid. That'd be crazy. But of course, I'm getting way, way ahead of myself. First, we have to see how Rooney does. And second, we have to see whether Barcelona end up pulling off this signing of his younger brother, Rayan Barghji. All right, that is all the news for the podcast. Let's do more comments and then we'll end this. But Yomi Dara says, glad to make this live today. It's been a minute. Big up, Mo. Smash that like button. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while, man. It's good to see you back. Let's see. Corazao says, these bootlickers are seasoned Barcelona fans. They only watch the team when they play good. These are just weird D-riders. I don't know. And Jorge Cerda says, Bo, I miss jamming to your old entrance. Not a big fan of the new one. Maybe in time. So I'm still using both. For the podcast, I use the old one. For the videos, I use the new one. Which, by the way, it's actually not an intro for videos. It's actually the intro of the trailer. I don't know if you guys noticed that. But I did upload a new trailer for the channel, which kind of like tells new people, new visitors to the channel what the channel is about. And all I did was chop up the first part. And then now I use it as an intro for my videos. But I'm still using both. And Zidane Jr. says Barcelona are not willing to spend over 60 million on Luis Diaz and have no intention of getting involved in a bidding war. They're also exploring more affordable alternatives. That is correct. And Nick says traveling was probably the wrong term. Was driving around with him to put him asleep. I stopped in a parking lot. Don't text and drive. Smart. Maybe I shouldn't yell as much because I don't want to wake up your kid. And Carlos says, I like the training kit. I just looked at it's 110. Lost interest immediately. Yeah, these prices are getting crazy, man. It's like every season, prices keep going up and up and up and up. My advice to you, wait until the end of the season and it's all going to be on sale. I know you have to wait a whole year, but woo, mamma mia. My God. Shin says, it's painfully obvious that absolutely nobody on the Barca board have the marbles or spine to stand up to La Porta. I mean, he has surrounded himself by his friends, so there's nobody to stand up to him, right? There's been over 30 executives that have left the club, a lot of them because of disagreements with him, including the guy who actually made the Nike deal happen. He left too because he did not disagree with the commission that was paid to this third party. Remember, 50 million euros, which people already forgot about. And people, no, Mo, you're just a hater. I'm like, how do you justify spending 50 million, 50, on a third party, on an intermediary? 50 million euro commission. This is the kind of shit that Bartomeu used to do. But when I criticize Bartomeu, it's fine. But when I do Laporta, all of a sudden I'm a hater. Is it I'm a hater or just what I'm saying that you don't like? Because truth is uncomfortable. Which one is it? Let's see. Trini Barca fan says, am I the only one fed of what Barca is doing with Rashford? This is my club, but this is bordering on disrespect now. How are we looking at Xavi and Rashford is still waiting? So that was just a meeting with his agent. They're saying it wasn't even about Xavi Simons. And even if it was, remember, a meeting is just a meeting. It doesn't mean that a club is going to sign someone. Sporting directors have meetings with agents all the time. A lot of time is just to touch bases. Hey, what's going on with your player? Would he be interested in leaving? If so, would he be interested in coming here? If so, how much would he want in salary? Is his club interested in selling him? If so, how much? A lot of time is just to see what's going on out in the market. Okay, is your player interested in leaving? No? Okay, cool, thanks. Here, enjoy the coffee. And that's it, right? It ends there. So meeting with someone's agent doesn't mean much until, of course, there's more and more meetings, and now we're talking about signings. So a lot of times meetings are just meetings, like just to touch bases, see what's out there, see what's going on with the players, who wants to stay, who doesn't want to stay, what can we afford, what can we afford. So Anonymous says, hey, Mo, for the left winger, I think we should go for Nusa or don't make any signings at all, especially a costly one like Diaz or Leao. We might as well already have what we are looking for in Virgili. And let's see. Street Fighter says, hola, Mo. Puedes deletrear el nombre del defensor, tu último video. There was two. I talked about Juan Ingles. Here, I'll write it. I think that's who you're talking about, right? My last two videos, there's Juan Ingles, and then there is Exposito. What was Exposito's first name? I'm totally blanking right now. His name is Raul Exposito. I don't know why I forgot his first name. Let's see. Anonymous says, Mo, I believe Rooney's last name is pronounced Barghji, as I heard possible Swedish TV call him. So I actually looked up his name in Arabic, and it's a little bit hard, but there's a ra and then a G. Barghji. So Barghji. That's his name in Arabic. And as you know, he's actually Arab. Like, he is Syrian. His parents are Syrian, and he was born in Kuwait. But then he immigrated to Sweden at a very young age and obviously became a Swedish citizen. But his name is in Arabic, so I looked it up in Arabic, and it says Rooney Barghji. But yeah, I think that's the correct, because in Arabic, the vowels are not their own letters. The vowels are, what are they called? I'm blanking on the word, like the little lines over and under the letters. Why can't I think of the word? But anyways, and when you type in Arabic, you cannot type those symbols. So you end up typing without vowels. So when I read his name online, obviously I could only see the letters without the vowels. So I think it's Barghji. But yes, there is a ra and a jin. It's not just a G. But anyways, I'm not gonna get into Arabic. Is a very difficult language, and it's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass. And Isaac says, just getting news already. It's been a while. We took a gamble on a player. Last time we did was Luis Suarez, and we knew the rewards we reaped, 30 mil max, add-ons inclusive, and do it. Let's see. What else? Let's do a couple more. And Omar Kamara says, can Gian Virginie handle the pressure of the left wing due to his age? I guess that's what the preseason's for, right? Or time will tell, because the only way to find that out is for him playing in there, right? Putting him out in the match and see how he does. That's the only way to find out. It's not something you can test out in training. In training, you can test out if he has the skills to be able to play in the left wing, but pressure, that can only be tested out by actually getting playing time and see how he does in a stadium full of people watching him and millions of people on TV watching him. So that, unfortunately, that's the only way to test out how a player responds to pressure. Mr. XP says, why the fuck are we not making any signings? All we got is Juan Garcia and Rooney, which, to be honest, very excited for both. But what the fuck are we doing? In the beginning of the season, we were promised signings, and now nothing. Look, I said from before the summer began, I said expect one, maybe two signings. So why are we not making signings? Because there's no money, my friend. There's no money. And like I've said a million times before, we don't need to sign every summer, and we don't need to make a lot of signings every summer. This whole myth that exists, which I don't know where it came from, maybe from the Bartomeu era, because that guy used to just blow the club's money on all kinds of signings. But this myth that exists that a transfer market is only successful if we sign a bunch of players is just that. It's just a myth. We don't need to sign every summer. And when we do, we don't need to sign 4, 5, 6 players. We should only sign what we need. And that's it. And if that happens to be just one position, then fuck it. Just sign one player. And if you get to a summer where you don't need anything because you have what you need, then don't make any signings. We don't need to be making signings. And it's not a failed market if we don't make signings. It's only a failed market if you need the signing and you couldn't get it. That's a failed market. But just because we didn't sign anyone, that's not a failed market. New Master says, yo, what's up, Mo? What's your thoughts about not having a left winger before the season starts, and how can we do next season? I mean, we didn't have one last season, so I'm okay with. I mean, obviously, I would rather sign a left winger specialist. It would improve the team. But if we don't, it's not like we would be hurt because we already didn't have a left winger last season, and we still won 3 trophies, and we came very close to making it to the final of the Champions League. So, should we sign one? Yes. But if we don't, it's also not the end of the world. We still have a very competitive squad that's only going to keep getting more competitive as the players gain more experience, get older, more mature, spend more time playing together, spend more time playing under Flick. And don't forget, now there's more players from the academy coming up, which weren't available last summer due to the experience. You know, Jean Virgili, Ibrahim Diarra, all these players were not ready yet to make the jump. Now they might be. So this team is only going to keep getting better. And last season, they were already wonderful. So do I want Barcelona to sign a left winger? Absolutely. But if we don't, it's not the end of the world. I think we'll be fine. Anyways, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in, for your comments, your likes, subscriptions, your very generous donations. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. It really helps. It prompts the YouTube algorithm to promote the video to people who've never seen it. So it really, really helps, and it's completely free. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. And don't forget to drop a comment. I want to hear you guys' thoughts and opinion about all the news that I shared with you. I will see you later tonight because I will be posting another video because, yes, there is more news, believe it or not. So I will see you then. And as always, Visca Barça.